right.
Dun, 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 dun. I'll be the intro music. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, I think we're live now.
Should be good on everything.
All right, super. Today's Thursday, March 16th. It's about 12 minutes after the hour, 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern here in the United States, and this is the Thursday edition of the Crypto Flight Path. I'm Ted. This is Josh. Welcome, Josh. Welcome to another week. That's what a year this week has been.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, every day is a new crisis. There's UFOs, banks failing, asteroids. Who else? I mean, I'm probably forgetting something, but every day is something new.
Oh yeah, we're also at the state level legislating we're redefining at the legislative level what the definition of money is, so that we can try and exclude the money that we don't like as individuals.
Yeah, that's fun, isn't it? Well, we lost Ted. That's interesting. I'll keep going till he pops back on. Yeah, so interesting week, right? It's always something. Truthfully, watching all this stuff every day is overwhelming and exhausting. It gets to the point where you just kind of tune it out. You have to. You can't really follow it all day long every day. And so there's Ted.
Yeah, sorry about that. There was a glitch in the matrix.
That's all right.
Deja vu.
Yeah,
they changed something.
Well, we're talking about banks. So the Matrix, I guess, if you're Andrew Tate, I guess the Matrix is after us, right? These paranoid people that, think the whole
said
world.
Something.
Yeah, well, hey, all this paranoia. It turns out the crypto people were right. This is the craziest thing. If you look at Senator Tom Emmer's tweet, he says any buyer of Signature must agree to give up all crypto business at the bank. And you're going, what in the hell are these people talking about? Like, it makes no sense. Like, the reason that bank went under is because it was ran poorly, they mismanaged their risk, and they screwed up. I mean, they're involved in a whole bunch of other goofy stuff too that had nothing to do with banking, right? And then they come out and say it's because of crypto companies. It's literally like saying, like, you can't do business with Bed Bath & Beyond. That's our one condition. Somebody can buy the bank, but no business with Bed Bath Beyond, because who knows what's beyond. It's so stupid. It's just silly.
This is a battle that the gun industry and the cannabis industry have been fighting for a long time. You weren't able to get banked for a long time as a cannabis dispensary type operation. And it created very interesting times for cannabis operators who were targeted primarily because the unsavories in the world are very smart, even though they're unsavory. They knew that you were holding large amounts of cash on premises. So it became the solution to the problem was let these businesses who are selling marijuana legally now to put their cash into the financial system, meaning in a bank, so that it's not sitting in a drawer somewhere or in a safe people are going to try to knock off easily, because they're not in the business of building vaults and housing cash. That's literally what banks are. It's okay for the bank to be in business and provide that service, but where we went off the rails a little bit was when there was this period of time where people in those industries were unbanked because someone made there was a policy decision, and people were able to hide behind corporate policy, that we're not going to allow you to bank with our institution because you're the industry that you're participating in, even though it was legal.
Well, yeah, it's a great analogy. And the thing that's so confusing to me is, like, the banks have to operate by the rules the government makes, right? And there's no government rule against doing business with crypto companies. And it's like this bank wasn't dealing with crypto. They were, dealing with companies that were building products, whether they were crypto or not. And it's like, all right, fine, I'm going to make a crypto project and use helium, and I'm going to use a sensor to track my dog to make sure I can't lose it. And I'm going to build a company based on that. All right, and I need to go to the bank to get a loan to market it, to hire employees, to build out a website, to do all the things companies do. And because my technology is crypto, even though it works great and I can track my dog wherever it wants and there might be a huge market demand for that, they are saying that that business is unbankable and that it's absurd. They do not, either they don't understand what it is and they're just flailing their arms around in a desperate attempt to do something, or they understand what it is and they're malevolent actors, right? They're purposely attacking the industry for some reason. And we could speculate why that might be all day long, but this is just what. And here's the main point, Ted. It's so absurd that normal people who aren't in crypto see this, and they're going, "What the hell? What is that about? That doesn't even make any sense." So, in the midst of a banking crisis, they're doing stupid stuff like this, and people are going, "What's going on? Like, is there a real problem here? Like, why are they so worried about this particular bank doing business with crypto companies?" And on a side note, I don't think banks are turning away crypto companies. In fact, I think they're banks that are welcoming this. I think it's a hell of an opportunity for banks to welcome new business. And you know who's getting a lot of that new business? JP Morgan Chase. Isn't that funny? All of a sudden, he's quietly accepting this crypto business after ripping it for so many years. I find that ironic.
It is beautifully ironic because this is the classic. If you read, I'll make the analogy talking about a book called Reminiscences of a Stock Operator about Jesse Livermore, who is allegedly the most successful trader in history, and made, back in the time that he was trading in the early part of the 20th century, made in those dollars was 100 million trading, which would be somewhere north of $1 billion today. Although I think it was David Tepper or Schwartzman from Blackstone. One or more of those guys each made at least $1 billion or more in a year, or maybe it was more that in adjusted for inflation, because the purchasing power of the dollar over the last 100 years has just deteriorated pretty drastically. The point I'm trying to get to is in those days the people participating in the markets would use very simple tactics like dropping a piece of paper with a stock that the stock that they were giving the impression that they were interested in or they didn't like. And the rationale was that people would go to restaurants and bars back in those days to talk to each other, and people would say, "Hey, you got any hot stock tips?" And someone would drop a note, and people, it's a classic example of how a pump and dump happens today, where people tweet about, "Hey, this thing is really great, you should go buy it," and then people flock to it, and then the people who had it dump it on those buyers and then vanish, and the cycle repeats. Or on the opposite side of that coin, you get the big dogs like Jamie Dimon calls Bitcoin a Ponzi. Meanwhile, their organization is strategically maneuvering around and quietly accumulating bags of Bitcoin and bags of other crypto, so that when the news cycle spins the other way, they can be net sellers.
Well, it's like our boy Bill Ackman. He was all over again, shouting and screaming that if they don't bail out the Silicon Valley Bank, the world's going to end. And then this week, he gets on. He's like, "I firmly believe the regional banks are strong." And it's like, bro, like, come on, like, we know what you're doing, and I guess it's not illegal, right? You accumulate enough power, you get enough friends in high places. But I mean, I think people are over that trick. Like, this is the second, third time. I mean, I'm 38. I think I've seen 4 financial crises where we're getting ready to enter another war. We had the issue with the virus. Like this is just life now, I guess. Like we're just in a constant shitstorm, and what happens is people become numb to it, and the tricks they used to do just don't work anymore. I think they're running out of stuff. That's why I always laugh about the UFO thing, like half-heartedly, but I'm going to tell you something. There's going to be UFOs in the next 6 months because this thing is falling apart and they're out of tricks. Like it's crazy. And then that's not like Josh talking 5 years ago. Just look at the news. They had, apparently there's some mothership now sending UFOs to,
Yes.
to do, and it's like it's like this stuff just appeared out of nowhere. Like all of a sudden, like what great timing for all of this stuff to just start happening, and they think people can't put two and two together. I swear to God, they think we're stupid. Like, it's amazing to me. But like, one analogy I made today that I want to talk about is, the U.S. it's like they're trying to build a wall to stop the wind, right? You're not going to stop the wind. The wind's going to blow over, and that's what crypto is. Instead, what we should be doing is building sails to harness the power of the wind. And you have this great new technology that's just been dropped on the earth, right? Like a powerful way for individuals to own and transact their own money, to send money, to build products. And what do we do as the United States? We tell banks they can't bank with crypto companies. We try to get around and scare everybody and speak mistruths about what this stuff actually is. It's like the wind's just going to blow around whatever wall they build, and there are countries waiting with sails built to harness this power. It's the biggest strategic fumble, or we have leaders that are very corrupt and are doing this stuff on purpose. You and I both believe that crypto is something that everybody should learn about and understand and use to their advantage. It's just a tool. It's not some big bad enemy that's going to destroy the United States, patriarchy. It's just a tool. It's a technology. You can use it for good. Like, I don't know. Rant over, man. I just
No, good start. Good start to a thread here. So I think it's interesting. People sometimes, it's human nature. There are facets of human nature that are just flat out irritating. And that's one of them is that sometimes people don't appreciate what they have until someone threatens to take it away. And we all, as we get older, you realize that politicians do is like their job is just to talk and say things. Almost nothing of what they say actually gets implemented. How many of us a week ago were all up in arms? And I'm asking for a friend. How many people last week were shitting the bed, pardon my French, about the capital gains tax on unrealized gains and taxing crypto, taxing the electricity? We have forgotten about that now.
I literally forgot about it.
Okay, and that is not, and I'm not picking on you, but I thank you for validating what I'm like, even at the micro level here, just validating that just last week, okay, we had a narrative being vomited into the media from the mouthpieces, the administration. Like literally, the reason that these people get elected is because the body, the populace, they want someone to look at and they want to be told what to do. And I don't like this, I'm not saying it, but it's just real life. And what I'm trying to communicate here is that sometimes it takes someone in a position of perceived ultra power. Like everybody looks at the president and says, oh my gosh, when the president says something, it just magically gets done. And that couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, it doesn't matter who's president. It doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on, or if you're not on any aisles. The point I'm trying to get to is when somebody in a perceived position of power gets up and talks, and sometimes it's necessary for them to say things that contradict or that seem counterintuitive in order to facilitate or otherwise get people off their butts and to take action. So there's plenty of other examples, like in the gun business, for example, in the firearms business, there's the gun industry suffers when there's a second what's the Second Amendment? Yeah, when there's a Second Amendment friendly administration, but the gun business prospers when there's a gun control friendly administration in power or in the White House. You see what I mean? And how it doesn't make any damn sense is what I'm trying to say. But like, I think what the silver lining here is that all this tough talk on crypto is going to send shockwaves through the world, and it's going to get people to like take notice, one, and then start voting, and then the political apparatus are going to flex to what the way people vote anyway.
Well,
So
that's a key point there too, because there are representatives that are kind of standing up and saying, "Hey, what is going on here?" Right, and that's what we want to see as an industry and as a community is which of you people are going to, use common sense and start to question what these guys are doing, right, and what their objectives are, because this move to say Silicon Valley Bank can't operate with crypto companies is a joke, right? And starts to raise eyebrows. And another unintended consequence of these politicians is they have unintendedly reawoken interest in crypto. I mean, we're just getting out of a bear market.
There you go.
We've gotten our ass kicked for the past 12 months. I've been doing this for 6 years, and I'll tell you what, man, I look at this as a 12-round fight. We're probably in the second or third round, and that was an ass kick in the last year. I mean, it was bad, as bad as I've ever seen it. You had Luna, FTX, one thing after the other, Three Arrows Capital, one thing after the other. It was brutal, and that had kind of scared a lot of people away. And then they get up there and they start talking about, oh, this thing that's been relegated to nothing, that's just a joke. Don't worry about it. Only nerds and people that like JPEGs pay attention to crypto. And then all of a sudden, it's like crypto's destroying the economy. It's like, no, you guys had done a good enough job of that on your own. Your policies and your printing trillions of dollars did that. We are here offering a solution to your craziness, and you're up there saying our craziness is the best. Don't pay attention to crypto. Just follow our craziness. Follow us off the cliff. We'll lead you the right way. We always have for the past 30 years. Look at how happy you are. Look at how expensive eggs are. Look at all the freedoms you enjoy. You can walk out of your house and nobody arrests you. What a great place to be. Like, it's like, come on, man. Like, give us a break. Like, all you're doing is spotlighting it. You're getting people interested again. And the great thing about Bitcoin and crypto is once you go down that rabbit hole, you're done. It's over. Like, I've never met anybody who's went down the Bitcoin rabbit hole and came out and said, you know what? I'm just going to go to fiat. I don't think any of this makes sense. And I learned how the banking system works. I know how our money works. I'm just going to keep doing that. That seems to be working well. I think I'll stick with that path.
Yeah, there's the politicians have to walk the most. It's unbelievable to me, like the tightrope that these ladies and gentlemen have to walk, on either side. And I just it's like it prevents me from speaking English. Is how infuriating it is.
Well, I'll tell you this though. Like I said earlier, there are representatives and politicians that do get it and do understand and are trying to understand it. And I think that's where we need to go, right? The answer here isn't to pack your bags and go to Guatemala. Like I've tried it. I lived in Puerto Rico for 6 months. I mean, look, Puerto Rico's awesome. I would go back anytime. But I'm from the United States. This is my home. Like, I don't think the answer is to sit back and just accept what these people say at face value and say, well, Gensler thinks all crypto security, so by God, he went to MIT. He must be the smartest guy that ever walked the face of this earth. I better just sit back and take it. Like, come on, that's not why we're here. That's why none of us are in here. We're in here because we believe in this technology. We believe it gives power back to the individual. We believe that it can better our lives. And because some guy in some administration wants to give his opinion on something, like, great, you're welcome to it, but that doesn't mean we all have to sit there and agree with you, including the judges, including the law. Like, there's a lot of stuff happening right now where the judges are pushing back and saying, you haven't proved anything.
Exactly.
You're running around abusing your power. You botched the FTX thing so bad. I mean, that was like Tom Brady turning around and throwing a football to his own player behind him. Some analogy like that, right? So the stupidest football play ever made is what Gary Gensler did with FTX.
Yeah, there's twofold. There's two things happening. One, the mouthpieces are doing the thing they have to do, okay, which is placate and pander to their constituents. That's what they're doing. Schumer gets up in front of the ultra Schumer types that are his donors and lean left and think that guns are bad and laws are good and that all criminals are going to obey the law and say, oh, well, you know what? Guns are not allowed in New York City, so therefore I'm not going to go get one illegally to commit crime. Okay. He has to pander to them. he may very, he may very well believe that what is happening in the cryptoverse, in the sphere, is fundamentally good for humanity, but he can't say that right now. But what's happening is by them vectoring the message that they're vectoring to satisfy their donor base primarily, and then the rest of the people that just ideologically are aligned with the message that they're feed, like the politicians are just feeding the crap back to people that they tell them what they want to hear.
Well, yeah, it's like our crypto echo bubble. They have an echo bubble.
They have their own echo bubble. So hallelujah. But where I'm going with this is that there's a good saying is never let a good crisis go to waste. So what we should be doing as advocates of crypto what I'm really hopeful happens is that people that don't fundamentally agree with stupidity, like we're reading on the screen about this alleged mandate that if you get bailed out, you're not allowed to do business. This should galvanize people by the tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands in our echo bubble, in a sense, but to the point that they actually take action. And that's what I'm trying to work out here to get out into the open, is that this is when you're political, or someone who is politically not aligned with you is talking about something and trying to regulate something you believe in, or try to snuff something out. It should call you to action. And what I'm really, really hoping is that with all of the different the confluence of all these other things through the macro lens, we have all of these confluences of things. And through the political lens, we have people that are starting to put their head above the crowd, even though there's going to be tomatoes, like the gentleman you referenced a little bit ago, that his name is escaping me now. I'm trying to talk about it. That says, wait a minute, hold on. We shouldn't, do blah, 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 whatever. There's the distrust that is streaming across the internet into people's mind control devices here that is becoming more and more apparent. In one mind at a time, and in one crypto wallet at a time, people are going to say, well, wait a minute, maybe I should think about this thing. Maybe I don't know. And it's just every person's journey through life is different. And I'm just speaking from my own experience now that I'm, I'm closer to 50 than I am 40 by quite a bit. And so I've earned the ability, not the right, but just the ability to look back and think about the way I perceived the world, 20 years ago, and through more than one economic cycle, through several crises, and understand people's perceptions, how they do change over time, but it's very slow process. And what I'm really, really hopeful for is that through the macro lens, all the things that are happening, through the political lens, all the things that are happening, through the individual's lens of, look, wait a minute, we're being hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right. That collectively,
100%. Yeah.
And then this permeates, this spreads around the world, where people in areas where we don't have the same freedoms that we have to sit here like we are today, with polite, casual, and simple discourse, without threat of going to prison or death, then people galvanizes them and calls them to action. And people will start working together to realize a different outcome that we happen to think is better.
In crypto, man, we've had a good 12-year run of kind of being able to stay under the radar. I always use the analogy hey, look, just don't shit in our litter box. Leave us alone. Let us play in our own box. Well, our box has got big now. Okay, we can no longer just sit back and I'll use the reference. We can't just sit in our mom's basement and yell at each other on the internet, right? We have to get out there, and we have to start, it's okay to express dissent. You can go out and you can talk about it. You can tweet at these people. Everybody's so scared now that, they can't say what they feel. And that's a condition that's brought out on purpose. And I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but, these are important issues. This just isn't a crypto issue. You know, when we talk about this, the reason a lot of us get so fired up is because we can see the end game. And the end game is a CBDC, and a central bank digital currency is akin to slavery. And I don't use those words lightly because they aren't light words to use. If they enable a CBDC, they will control every aspect of your life. There is no such thing as freedom anymore. Okay, and so this is the start. These little things that may seem silly and not make a lot of sense are the very start of this happening. And I don't know how fast they're going to implement it or try to implement it. My hope is that we get a new administration in, we get a lot of these people out who are not acting in the best interest of the American public. And, you know, in that time, the crypto industry is able to affect change in politics. And look, we're not saying that, you know, you guys just need to sit back and blindly accept everything happening in crypto. We're aware, very well aware, that there's not good players in crypto. That doesn't mean the whole industry needs to be snuffed out, right? There's not good players in affiliate marketing. There's not good players in real estate. There's not good players in banking, clearly. You don't snuff out the entire industry because of a few bad players. You sit down, you hold debates, you bring crypto experts in, you put those crypto experts up against politicians that have studied this, you put that on TV, you let people watch, you debate it, you take time to figure this out, you do it over a years-long period, right? You don't just snuff it out. Because if they just snuff it out or try to snuff it out, which they don't think they can, all you're going to do is shift the talent and the power of this technology to other countries. And that's something we can't afford to do. Like, it's going to pass us by so fast if we continue to fumble the football. Like, this isn't like, oh, we fumbled, we've got 3 quarters left, we can come back and win the game. This is like we fumbled, there's 3 seconds left, the other team picked it up and is going to run it into the end zone and spike the football. It's over. Like, there's no time. They just can't. They cannot do this the way they're doing it and have it be a net positive for the United States in the long term, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's no bigger national security threat, in my opinion, than to allow the other countries to build or get really significant footholds in these with these innovations that we have access to in this particular industry. People talk about, oh, well, it's bad for the environment, or it's this, that, or the other. But I'm telling you, like, there's no bigger threat than when if it's obvious to us that this is advantageous to us. Believe me, our adversaries around the world, or countries that are adversarial, or even our allies who are our allies until they're not, and things change. We're still in competition in many ways with our allies, especially, but I would call it co-opetition. It's probably a better way to phrase it. But the reality is that when it's, let me put it this way, when it's politically beneficial, the mouthpieces will say, we need to keep, and how many times throughout history, get on YouTube, we can find this out if we needed to. How many times has the president or the Speaker of the House or some other governor or some other leader, someone at the Fed, someone at the Treasury, someone at the other thing, has gotten on TV or used the media as a mechanism to communicate how important it is to remain the dominant, or in the dominant role, or the leader? Well, the United States needs to maintain its leadership position in the blah blah, insert thing here, at the time that it was beneficial politically, because that's what people wanted to, that's what the.
Oh, I'm sure.
You see what I mean?
Hundreds of times, like, right? But
hundreds and thousands.
I pulled up this image of Radar. I don't know what this account is. Like, I've seen this news on other things, so don't come after me if this is a bogus account. But, like, it says the Fed's emergency loan program could inject up to $2 trillion into the banking system. We're talking about trillions of dollars. We're not talking about billions. We're not talking about hundreds of billions. On the back of $6 trillion. I mean, they're gonna just print this money into infinity. Like, there just are. Or they know it's coming to an end. They're gonna do this until and then they're gonna try to implement a CBDC. This is stuff that we speculate on and have for a long time. But what's funny about this is there's a helicopter that flies by my apartment every night, and I sit there and I watch it and I wait for it to drop all this money, and in my direction. You know what's funny, Ted? I never get any money from that helicopter.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. What's the saying I just said? Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right. How come I'm not getting the helicopter drop?
I must be standing under the wrong helicopter, man. I don't see any of this money. Where does it go? Like,
Well,
that's the other question. Like $2 trillion, where does it go? It doesn't go to me and you. It doesn't go to anybody watching. Like they just throw this stuff around randomly, and like we're so conditioned to it now, we don't even care. It's like, hold on, guys. Why don't you tell? Why aren't you obligated to tell us where this money is for? They just sign bills, and money goes to Ukraine, and money goes to politicians, and money goes to banks, and I feel like the banks are just shuffling around the same pile of money in an attempt to stay solvent while everybody's looking at them. Like a lot of these banks have had problems for a long time, right? Like and now it's like, come on. Like and by the way, I don't want the banks to fail. That'd be terrible.
no,
Like
it doesn't help anyone.
nobody's rooting for that, like, but if you screw up and you mismanage your risk, you should fail. Like, it would have hurt me financially through indirect investments if Silicon Valley would have been allowed to go under. But, they bailed out the tech guys. They bailed out, and, look, my opinion on that might be starting to change. I'm trying to get Vivek to respond to my text. I want to know what the guy thinks about crypto because he's out there. He's saying a lot of good things, right? Like, if you get a candidate like him that comes out and supports Bitcoin and crypto and innovation in this country, you're going to have a candidate on your hands, right? And that's the thing. It doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat or whatever they want to call themselves. Any savvy politician would go, look, I got 40 million crypto owners in the United States. This is a honeypot. And a lot of them have been successful in this business, right? Why don't they start waking up to that? Like, where's the savvy politician that's going, hold on a second, I got a whole base here that really doesn't care what I say about anything else, right? Like, I have a freedom of screwing up on 30 other avenues, but if I just protect the interests of Bitcoin and crypto, I've got a whole base here. Like that, to me, I'm not a politician, but that seems like a pretty good play.
It does. I'll argue that there's probably a good reason that other politicians, like governors and other, haven't gotten on this bandwagon because they're probably surrounded by people that are crunching numbers and providing them with hard data that suggests that you shouldn't talk about A, B, or C, and that this is what you should focus on. So, I mean, look, it's a data-driven, numbers-laden, metrics filled world that we live in today. And all I'm trying to say here is that I agree and think what you just said was very interesting, is that it's not even about Bitcoin or Ethereum or any of the other types of cryptos in the world. What really the underlying things are the underlying elements, the base level ingredients are freedom, sovereignty, freedom again, and protecting your money, because it protects your ability to live your life. And in this country, we have the Constitution, we have the Bill of Rights, and we're a nation of laws, yes. But the point I'm trying to get to is that it doesn't, I mean, some of the most left, like I lean way more right than center. I'm right of center, you could say. I know plenty of other people that are way left of center that still, at the end of the day, they may not agree with things that I say about money or crypto, or especially when legislating around like criminal justice type themed things, like who should go to prison for what type of crime. I stay out of those discussions because it's a fruitless exercise. But the minute you start threatening their freedom and their money, all of a sudden we are allied.
Well, no, that's 100% true.
So I would say that if I were going to run for some office, which I'm not, because I'm way too interested in looking at charts and having time for myself, if I were going to do this, I would look to unify people around the basics that we seem to have. I don't use the word forgotten here on purpose. I say that we've probably, some of us in this country, have taken for granted the things that I'm talking about, like our basic freedoms, that we don't really think about until something really nasty happens, like being told you can't leave your house because there's a virus floating around in the air, or you're not eligible to apply for employment unless you've been you've taken you've taken a vaccine or something like that. That really, to me, is a great backdrop. Not that those things happen, but the backdrop is that your basic freedoms have been threatened, legitimately threatened, and for real threatened, and you shouldn't take that lightly.
No,
Your
you
money
should
your
not.
money is at risk. Like here's the thing. Like a lot of people take it for granted that the cash, the U.S. dollars that are in the bank, they think that they're theirs. They think those are mine, and that I can go get them anytime. And I'm sorry to be the one to like pull the emergency brake while we're driving down the highway, but that's not the case. You don't own your money in the same way you can when you own crypto. Bitcoin is the best example.
That's a great point, right? And when you deposit your money in the bank, it becomes the bank's money. And when you talk about freedom and money, I think the important thing that anybody should consider is the simple question: do you think you can control your money better than the government? If the answer is yes, I got news for you. You're a crypto enthusiast. Like if you believe your money is better controlled by yourself than the government, because ultimately what a CBDC is full control. It doesn't matter if it's a JP Morgan Chase or whatever bank you're at. That's government controlled money. You don't control it. You can't take that CBDC out and save 10,000 of it for whatever you want. Like maybe you like buying truffle mushrooms from the local market and they only accept cash. Whatever, I don't know. That's a bad example. Whatever you like, right? But like you get what I'm saying. Right? You can't do that with CBDCs. And there's a whole economy that works on US dollars, the cash portion of it, not only in the United States, but the rest of the world. I mean, if you eliminate the US dollar from that, I mean, I just think so. I guess something that I've kind of been spitting around lately is, Bitcoin and crypto enable the US dollar to spread around the world. You can do it on crypto rails. Right? Like a CBDC, I highly doubt you'll be able to transfer over crypto rails because it's programmable money. They'll probably program. I don't know. I also don't know who these people are at the government that are programming the CBDC. Like think about it like this. Do you want the guy that gives you your driver's license printing, designing your money? Like, I don't know that the best and brightest work for the government anymore. I think those are all, they've went to private companies. The pay's better, life's better. And it's not an insult to anybody that works with the government at all. But when you're talking about designing a money that's going to be used by the entire country and probably the entire world, I don't know. Like, I think it's open for a lot of problems.
On the note of CBDCs, I want to make an analogy that I think will help drive the point home, because I think one of the biggest problems today is that people don't fully understand just how dangerous a CBDC is. And I'll make the analogy is that imagine that you had to pay your mortgage and your money, or to buy your food, to pay your electric bill, pay your car insurance, make your car payment, facilitate your life, just like to stay operational at the base level. Okay. You had to use coupons. And I mean, like the coupons that you cut out of the newspaper or a magazine that have, what did they have on them? Expiration dates. And it's the hardest thing to understand, because I grew up in the world where you worked, you got paid in US dollars here in the US, and they handed you the dollars, or they handed you a check that you could take to the bank. And then if you wanted to, you could cash a check, or you could withdraw some of those US dollars and you put them in your pocket. And none of them, they had a serial number, yes, but they didn't have an expiration date. That meant that I wasn't forced to redeem them for something else within a certain amount of time. And think about it this way. What do you think is going to happen when, this is a real thing. If you have coupons and you look at them today, you think, oh, well, I don't need tires right now, but this coupon is only good for another 30 days. Geez, what do? I'll set it down. And then 31 days comes around, the coupon's expired. Now you need tires, but your money is literally expired and you can't spend it. Now whose thumb are you under?
You better go get your ass back out on the street, Ted. You better earn some more money. You earn that money, but it's no longer good. Isn't that's crazy to me, that idea, right? Like, because you earn that money, and because for some arbitrary reason, there's an expiration date on it, right? And the idea is they want to facilitate velocity of money flow, and that's how they would do it. But the
Right.
problem is that's not good for you or I. Like that's a central planner's idea of how things would work, and central planners are terrible planners. Like it never fails. None of the stuff they plan works. Like
They're never able to take in all the variables. I mean, there's an infinite number of variables in people's lives. Like the way you live and the way I live are like worlds apart, not because we're weird or that different in broad strokes, but the way the velocity that you choose to transact is different than every other person on earth. And what happens is you get a situation that's ironically enough, when your money's going to expire and you have a week to spend it, what are you going to do? You're going to go out and buy all kinds of dumb crap that you don't need. You're not able to save and plan for the future.
Well, let me take
unplanned things.
Let me take a step further. If I know my money's always going to expire, why in the hell do I work at all?
Yeah, why bother? Find some land, grow your own food,
No, but
get some water.
think about this from the perspective of somebody who works every day, tries to save money because they want to, and this is the old way of thinking, in 40 years retire and have enough money to live. If you can't do that, what is your incentive to go to work?
I don't have an answer for that other than why bother?
No. Here's the next step. That's where the UBI comes in. That's where daddy government comes in and says, we're going to give all of you, 2,000 imaginary dollars a month, right? And it's so funny because they say Bitcoin is backed by nothing, but then they come out with all these harebrained plans that are literally backed by nothing. And their words in trust don't mean anything. You used to be able to trust these people. They've not because we're weird conspiracy theorists. They have eroded the trust themselves. They did it. They need to look in the mirror. They gave it away. We don't trust them anymore. Why would we trust them with our money? We don't. All of us in the crypto community are saying, like implicitly through our acquisitions of crypto, that we do not trust the system. We're not saying we don't trust people on a individual basis, but the entire system is defunct, and it's showing. It's not my opinion. The banks, there's banks failing. The United States is in pretty dangerous times, right? Like it feels that way for sure. I'm not an expert. I don't know for sure, but I turn on the TV. I talk to my friends. I talk to people that aren't my friends that I meet on a day-to-day basis. Never in my life have I seen so many people agree, yeah, stuff's messed up.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more about how stuff being messed up. But what is really terrifying is the situation in the UBI example, universal basic income, in case anybody doesn't understand what that means. The point I'm trying to get across here is that if you think you're under somebody's thumb today because you got a boss or you have children that you have to attend to, and you can't do the things you want to do in life because, gosh, I got to work my job and pay for my house so my kids have a place to sleep, or and my wife and I, we have dogs because we don't have children and can't. We work hard so our dogs can have a better life. Talk about a first world problem, but I digress. The point I'm trying to get to is that imagine, or what I'm trying to, one other key ingredient here is that, but what we have today is the freedom to choose where we earn our income. We can either be employed as a W-2 or a 1099, or we can start a business.
Go create something, build something,
participate
innovate the
in
world.
Participate in GDP, like actually produce something that is measurable, that generates spending of people's own volition, not because they have to, but because we're solving a problem in someone's life and they're willing to pay money for that solution because we happen to be the one, like the supply and demand market, free market dynamic. Okay. Now that's what we can do today. Even with everything being messed up like it is, chaos creates opportunity. Never forget that either. What I'm trying to get down to is that in a world where you're no longer able or allowed, I should say, to participate and do those things to try and earn income, but now you have so talk about taking risk, like risking everything and having one source of income, and it's the government, no less. And when something changes out of your control and you're no longer eligible, you say something out in public that somebody in the government or somebody in the law enforcement agency, whatever that apparatus looks like in the future, when we're into this UBI wet blanket,
It'll
you
be
say
an,
something.
it'll be an AI.
Yeah, okay. So you type something on Twitter that people don't agree with, and then your next payment into your bank account is delayed, or you get a message saying you're being penalized and you're going to have to go two more extra weeks before you get your UBI. But if you're not able to save money, what are you going to do? So it's going to become punitive for people to say or do, or we're going to walk around terrified of doing or saying any. I mean, it's half. Even now today with that and any of these things, people are still hesitant to speak their mind because they don't want to be excluded from the candidate pool when looking for work. God forbid you tweet something that somebody doesn't like and you apply for a job, and that person that's going to interview you and has the power to make that hiring decision says, you know what, this guy Ted said that he thought it was good that law-abiding citizens of the United States should be able to purchase firearms if they want to, and they don't want to, and then I'm excluded from a job because of that. I mean, whatever. People can make any decision they want, but there's consequences. But when there's no consequences, or the consequences like weighted very heavily on the individual, and they suffer needlessly because their money is not theirs.
The bottom line here is that this isn't about crypto.
No.
It really isn't. And that's where everybody should pay attention. If you're watching this and you're going, I don't really care about crypto, that's great. Whatever. You don't have to. It's an optional all of these things are optional networks. You can opt in or opt out, doesn't matter. But you do have to go to work, you do have to earn income, and you do have to understand what is coming down the pipeline, right? And for a long time, I was of the opinion that I just need to stay under the radar, not express my opinions, and just kind of, ride this out. I don't think that's possible anymore. I think you're going to have people that come out and voice their opinions in a respectful, nice, polite way. But you can say stuff that other people might not like, and you can do it in a nice way. And sometimes it might not seem nice, but what they're trying to do is not nice either. So either you sit in your bunker and you just wait for it to hopefully play out, or you join a growing number of people who are expressing their discontent with this and saying out loud, I don't want this. And luckily, we still live in a world where you can say those things, right? And they don't have to agree with me. That's okay. But I can still say those things. You can still say those things. And, there's a lot of really smart people that have differing opinions on this. Right? We're just two guys giving ours, and I think anybody watching should check out YouTube and start looking at CBDCs, because you'll see there's a commonality amongst all the different videos that you watch. CBDCs are bad. Nobody's really getting out there saying, hey, this is the best thing ever. This is going to solve all our problems. Most people are going, hold on a second, this doesn't make any sense. Why are they trying to push this so hard? Well, I think the answer is control, right? And to our point earlier, the Chinese
do it.
Yeah, and to our point earlier, the end result too is you will kill innovation, you'll kill startups, you'll kill entrepreneurship, and all you'll have left is a population that works for the government, right? And so you'll get your government assigned job, which is going to be to go out and, clean needles off the street that they've given to people to take drugs, right? Because what the hell, right? Let's just do that while we're at it. And then you go back and you get your coupon, your CBDC coupon, and you got 2 weeks to spend it on government-approved food, which most likely will kill you anyway. And so, because they've eliminated all healthy option, because nobody has an incentive to go out and make healthy food, right? You're just, I don't know, man. It just seems like it spirals to one possible logical conclusion. It's some dystopian nightmare.
Yes. However, what I'm hopeful for, and what it does to me, is it lights a fire. It stokes the fire that was already there, I should say, at least in my mind, that I have to do something. And I'm only one person, but never underestimate, as a good saying is, never underestimate the power of in the examples, never underestimate the power of stupid people in large numbers. But I'll modify it to say, never underestimate the power of freedom fighting seeking individuals in large numbers when they when their rights are under attack and their freedoms are under attack. And that's the way I look at this, is that our freedom and the right to choose like what we work on and how we innovate, and all of these things are under attack. And
Well, we
perhaps,
we are under attack, Ted. I mean, that's the thing that's crazy, right? If you would have told me in 2017, I'd wake up in 2023, there'd be trains derailing, food plants on fire every day, banks failing, like a president that can't speak a sentence, right? Like Russia shooting down U.S. planes, China doing whatever China's doing, right? They've clearly infiltrated some aspect of the U.S. government, in my opinion, right? Whatever, that's a political opinion. Try to stay away from that stuff. But, like, wake up. Like, it's happening. There's no ambiguity. This stuff isn't like conspiracy theorists putting out videos. Like, it's happening in real time, right in front of you every day. And so the next form of attack is against your literal freedom and your sovereignty as a human being. Sorry to interrupt you there, but like
No,
people got to
apologize.
you got to take the blinders off and see it for what it is. It's like we become so conditioned to all this stuff, and this stuff isn't normal. Like they try to say, oh, well, trains derail all the time, and banks fail all the time. You know, what's next? I don't know. Let's pick something. Yeah, UFOs are pretty common actually. They happen all the time, right? Like, oh yeah. Don't worry about the bank and the government taking 30% of your bank account. That happens all the time. It's pretty normal. Like, yeah, don't worry about them seizing your house. That's normal. It happens all the time. Don't worry about them, you getting fired. That's normal. All we can do is get on here and express our opinions and try to teach people about Bitcoin and crypto, and hopefully, that's enough to kind of give people. And the real thing for me, and why that's so important, because I know what it did for me. It allowed me to have a sense of power and control over my own financial future. And whether you like to admit it or not, we live in a world, in a society where that is just as important as love or friendship or food. Or you need to be able to have that to survive in the United States and quite frankly the world today. You need to be able to control your own finances, right? And you need to have power over that, right? And so that's why I'm so passionate about it, because if we can inspire others to take control of their own financial life, and not for our reasons, but for their own reasons, right? You might have somebody who's on the far left that disagrees with everything that we say politically, but listens to some of the stuff we say and goes, you know what? That is a problem. Maybe I should learn more about this Bitcoin and crypto. Maybe it's not the boogeyman that, Senator Warren says it is. Like, and by the way, who listens to her about anything anyway? Like, it's so funny to me, like people listen to her about crypto. That woman hasn't said an intelligent thing in 20 years. Like, now all of a sudden she's the crypto expert. I guarantee you she doesn't even know what programming language Ethereum is written in, or, that Bitcoin operates on a proof of work system, or, any of the things a quote unquote political expert would want to know when writing legislation to prohibit banks from dealing with crypto companies. I mean, it's absurd.
Elizabeth Warren knows one language, and that's the language of US dollars flowing into her bank accounts from her donors, telling her what she's going to say, when she's going to say it, and providing the agenda framework. That's it. That's how it is.
Those people need to go. I mean, they've had their run. They've had a nice run.
So what do we do? What do we do now? Like, this is how I want to round this out today, if I may be so bold.
You certainly may.
All right. So one thing that we do have is we still are a free country. We still have mostly open, free elections, mostly. Okay. There may be some shenanigans here and there, but largely people still find it a threat if something goes a little off kilter, or something is off kilter. Like that's a problem. So I think that's good that it's still a problem, and people aren't. This isn't Russia, and we're not turning a blind eye because we don't want to get assassinated as individuals because we disagree with the government. Okay. So what I'm trying to say here is that the power of individuals in large numbers voting, and not just voting, but making it known to their representatives, the people that are supposed to be taking up the issues of the day for the people in their districts, in their regions, in their sectors, in their little boxes and the lines on the map. And what I am really, really interested in doing more of is galvanizing people to stand up and fight for their, like with their voice, not fists, but their voice, fight and express how vital it is that their representatives understand that in their job, it is to fight and protect for our freedoms, to own property, own our money, be in control of ourselves, participate in the economy, be productive citizens, law-abiding citizens, and the government is not there to be our overlords. The government works for people. People don't work for government. At the end of the day, the government, your politician works for you, and people seem to have forgotten that, or at least that's my perception. I may be
Well,
wrong.
especially the politicians. I don't think
Okay,
we've
so-
forgotten it. I think they have.
I think the politicians are, got to give them a little bit of grace. They're human beings, and they see dollar signs, and they see lots of them sometimes, and it does like that kind of that does things to people. And that's just the way. I mean, that's human nature, and that's life, and we're gonna have to just deal with it. But what I want people to take away from this particular episode today is that government works for you, and it's your responsibility, in my humble opinion, to make it known to your representatives, whoever they are, at whatever level. It's the county, the state, or the federal, or Congress, or on the congressional side, or on the Senate side, who you vote for president. I will I may not. I'll leave you with this, and then we can wrap it up, if you like. I may not agree with what other people have to say, but I will defend to the death their right to say it.
I think that's awesome, man. I think you did a great job. A couple of things I wanted to point out based off what you said. We, Josh and Ted, do not advocate violence in any form or fashion. That is why we're such big fans of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a peaceful revolution.
Peaceful resolution.
It is a way for you to express your discontent with the current system by just simply opting out, by taking US dollars out of the system and placing it in a decentralized, trustless monetary network that's global and doesn't have rules that change all the time, and it doesn't have people that think they're in charge of you, right? There's no, what do they say? What's the Bitcoin quote? Rules, not rulers. Like
rules, not rulers. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something that I want to stress. And if you hear us talking, if you hear us get excited about all this stuff, we do not advocate violence. We respect, the process in the United States. We respect our politicians, even though we don't always like them and agree with them, right? We recognize they're in positions of authority, and our position is we would like to work with them to build and innovate into the future. We shouldn't have to fight the people that work for us to implement solutions to problems that are already happening, whether crypto exists or not, into the future. And I just wanted to make that really clear because, there's a lot of angst and anxiety in the world today, but Bitcoin is offering a solution, right? It really is. And so we'll always talk about managing your risk. Don't go crazy. Don't empty your bank account into Bitcoin or gold for that matter. I don't know what's going to happen with the banking system. I don't claim to know. I'm optimistic that, people's deposits will be taken care of and these banks will survive. That's the system we live in. That's the system we use. As crypto people, we understand that. We have to pay our bills too. Like, it's not like, we're sitting here living in some alternative world that has no connection to the world that actually exists, So I just wanted to make that clear, Ted, as we continue to shake our fist into the air and say, no more tyranny, right? Like, and that's okay. We can do that, right?
Yeah, people are entitled to our opinions, and we may not disagree. We may not like it, and we may disagree with it, but people are still entitled to say and express however they feel, and that's the beauty.
That being said, I'd like to end on this awesome meme.
All right. Yes. Masterfully done.
Tyler at Ape Durden. That was good. And again, that's just symbolism. It's not reality, right? Like, we're not advocating that happens, but it's a funny meme, right? Like, it's just that's a good representation of the current state of things right now.
Would
And
it
so-
would it be art imitating life?
yeah, I think that's a good analogy. I think
Okay.
that's
Just
good,
art,
but-
just art imitating life. You know, it happens. Well, what an interesting coincidence. What bizarre and fantastical times we live in.
That's right, buddy. All right. Well, I think that's a good enough. I think we went an hour and I didn't even realize it. That's awesome. So this stuff is fun to talk about. We enjoy it. Whether we were doing this on stream or on the phone, we'd be having the same conversation. So, we encourage people to start learning about Bitcoin and crypto, if you are in Bitcoin and crypto, we encourage you to start being vocal about why you believe in what you believe in. I think it's time to make our voices heard. And that's the United States process. That's the way this stuff works. And I still believe we live in a country where we can make our voices heard. And I do believe there are representatives that are listening and that do hear us. And I believe that we have a chance to kind of make our voices heard and combat some of the silliness that we see happening on different sides of the political aisle in relation to crypto and the Bitcoin industry. So that's all I got, buddy.
Super. Awesome. But as always, thanks again, everybody. Today's edition, we leave you till tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. I also want to say that nothing we do or say is financial advice. Do your own research, all that good stuff. Ted and I are two guys that just give our opinions. We are not financial advisors. We are not political experts. We are not banking experts. We are crypto experts. That's what we are. We can help you learn about crypto and Bitcoin, or alternatively and better, I think, help you find the resources to educate yourself on these topics. And that's what we're here to do. So that being said, have a good one.